No Man's Sky is an exploration game set in a vast galaxy of over 18 quintillion planets. This is a game about travel, survival, and commerce, backed by impressive tech that allows for near-seamless transitions from ground to space. Every facet contains multiple layers to consider, and while some details will make your journey feel more genuine than most, there are flaws that occasionally get in the way of your investment in the Odyssey. However, there's an intriguing narrative that puts new context on your in-game actions, making for a fascinating experience that ultimately trumps issues that appear early on. Most of the things you see and interact with during your journey have been arranged by an algorithm. The sheer number of variation of worlds and inhabiting species is too large to fully comprehend. But because the variety is defined by a computer pulling from a restricted pool of options, animals appear more like slapdash creations than thoughtful constructions. You will spend hours whittling away at rocks, plants, and asteroids in search of commodities, using your multi-tool on the ground or your ship's weapon in space. As you explore, you have to monitor your exosuit equipment to maintain protection from hazardous conditions, and occasionally to recover from violent encounters. Combat is a secondary activity, however, but it occurs often enough to make the game's unrefined multi-tool controls a standout issue. Aiming the weapon component of your multi-tool is finicky enough to make these encounters more of an annoyance than an enjoyable challenge. Battles with space pirates lack excitement and depth, offering simple visual targets that you fire into as enemies swarm from afar, and little else to consider. Your starship and exosuit have a limited number of slots that can hold stacks of resources or be used to apply equipment upgrades. So you try to be efficient and work with what you have, but No Man's Sky doesn't make this easy. You have to navigate a plain grid of items using a slow-moving cursor, holding down a button for seconds at a time to confirm every action. Managing your inventory is a large part of No Man's Sky, so this becomes a regular annoyance. In space stations and outposts strewn across planets, you encounter friendly NPCs that are open to trade. At first, these encounters offer temporary relief from prolonged isolation, but interactions are largely devoid of meaning. At best, you can learn bits of each species' lexicon by discovering translation monoliths, but even this process lacks substantial meaning as translations reveal truly stiff and impersonal dialogue. The starships you find come in a range of models with varying color palettes and accessories, and while you may get lucky and find a wrecked but improved ship to repair and call your own, ships are readily available in space station hangars where traders come and go in real time. In a galaxy with no real friends or social ties, it's easy to look at possessions as a way to curb loneliness and provide meaning to your journey. As time goes on, however, you may lose the high that comes from your new purchase and seek another, a cycle that continues and grows increasingly draining. If you adhere to the direct path towards the center of the galaxy in pursuit of the game's primary goal, No Man's Sky grows tiresome in less time than a game with this much potential ought to. No matter how many solar systems you jump to or planets you explore, you will likely grow tired of repetitive NPC interactions and planets' implied but shallow variety. You'll also lose interest in new ships, perhaps the journey altogether. However, tucked neatly into the galaxy is a narrative path, delivered so subtly that you may miss the fact that the first decision you make in the game, activating a distress beacon, connects you to a mysterious force known as Atlas. As you continue to travel the stars, you encounter individuals that will steer you towards Atlas stations, vast temple-like spaces with altars that allow you to convene with the spirit of Atlas. At first, what Atlas is can be difficult to pin down, but if you continue to heed its call, it will open your eyes to the greater truths about you, your journey, and the galaxy. The realizations that Atlas stirs in your character's mind address big-picture questions pertaining to not only the game, but life itself. It forced me to confront the point of my wandering, the value of material wealth, and the reason for existence. Atlas in many ways illustrates the value religion plays in some people's lives, but it also, quite cleverly, examines the role a game like No Man's Sky plays in our personal fulfillment. When I was on the brink of disillusionment, Atlas renewed my spirit and fueled my desire to press onward in search of a greater meaning. No Man's Sky is immediately a massive game, and it will entertain the inner collector in you for a while. The more you get to know it, the more you recognize its faults. But if you consider everything it has to offer, No Man's Sky becomes more than a collection of slightly different worlds in a seemingly never-ending galaxy. It becomes an examination of the meaning of life in a way that's more valuable than all the gold or starships in the galaxy.